Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the No Mustard Podcast. This podcast is brought to you from the purchase of my magazines and art by viewers like you. You can learn more about my work or join the Fast Food Legend newsletter by visiting fastfoodlegend.com. I'd like to introduce my guest this week, Jim Benton, an artist, author, and cartoonist best known as the creator of It's Happy Bunny. Along with beloved series like Dear Dumb Diary and Franny K. Stein, his work spans books, comics, licensing, film, and joke writing, with credits ranging from The New Yorker and Mad Magazine to films such as The Secret Life of Pets and Despicable Me franchises. Welcome, Jim. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jim, I know that one thing you and I both have in common is we are very passionate about t-shirt design. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
One of the very first places I could work professionally was at a t-shirt shop, and I could walk to it. I didn't have a car. If it had been a tattoo parlor, that's what I would be passionate about now. But I started working in a t-shirt shop, and it was at the shop that I discovered that you could draw it once and sell it over and over again, and that sort of turned on the switch to learn more about licensing. But it's Happy Bunny. I've done $750 million at retail in that brand, and a large percentage of that was apparel. So that's me in t-shirts.
All right. Well, this is a fast food related podcast. So, one thing that's happened in the last decade or so in fast food that you may or may not be familiar with is that every fast food chain now makes apparel. And I thought we would have a look at some of the designs and talk about them and see how you feel about them. So
Okay.
I'm going to show you a picture of a t-shirt and feel free to tell me anything at all about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a literal interpretation of the shirt. It could be a feeling that it gives you, a memory it brings up, anything at all you want to talk about. Please do. Just start by looking at the t-shirt and we'll take it from there, okay?
Okay.
So one of the biggest brands in terms of apparel in fast food is In-N-Out Burger. So I
hmm
thought maybe we would start with them. They have a huge catalog of clothing, and let's start with that. So this is one of their newer shirts. Tell me about it.
it's coming up. Oh, so it looks like kind of a muscle car going down the street by In and Out. I'm from Detroit, so cars and especially American muscle are a big part of the culture here in Detroit. I think it's cool looking. I love In-N-Out burgers, and I would be just as happy with just the logo on a shirt myself. But yeah, I think it's a cool shirt.
The next one we're going to look at is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has a huge catalog of merchandise as well.
I would never identify that as the brand. Where it just says or Ridge on there. Um, I would I would be curious about it, and maybe if it had the logo on the back, it might be one of those page one, page three setup punchline type thing. But I wouldn't get anything off of this that had anything to do with Chick-fil-A.
How much do you feel that t-shirt design has changed with the technology being able to print all over the fabric as opposed to just a center image like when you started?
Well, when we first started printing all over on a shirt, that was one of the grail pursuits that we were trying to figure out how to do. And it was tough. Like the way that made the most sense was to print the pieces and then assemble the pieces. But that's also not super easy, and there's a lot of waste because unless the image is tossed, the the work has to be engineered. So if there's stripes, they have to be horizontal. You wind up you wind up with a lot of waste on the table. So yeah, I think that the all over prints are cool. A lot of them are sublimation prints. A lot of them are digital prints, and they can look a little rinsed out on a dark color. But sometimes people like that. Sometimes they like the shirt to look a little worn in. So yeah, I think actually that a good t-shirt design doesn't need to do that. I think if it's funny or if it's right on target, a spot print works.
Let's look at the next one. And this is going to be from Whataburger. Now, they're a very big chain based out of Texas, and they
Uh-huh.
also have a pretty sizable merchandise catalog.
I think it's funny, we've seen these for a long time, when they print a sort of it's kind of what we would call an industrial print, where they're taking something that's just industrial, the ketchup logo, and then adding the Whataburger editorial on the top. Uh, it's okay if you like ketchup, if you like Whataburger. One of the things that we always run into in licensing with brands like this is that your consumer does not have an unlimited amount of money. And so if this shirt's $15, you're going to ask them to spend $15 on this instead of $15 on another shirt, and or $20 or whatever they're asking. And t-shirts typically are about either this is me, or I endorse this, or sometimes it's an invisible print. Ocean Pacific was famous for those way, way long time ago, where it was just a nice looking print and it didn't say anything about anything really. There was no statement there. So, this is kind of a statement shirt. I like ketchup, maybe, but, people have limited amounts of funds. So my advice to Whataburger or somebody like this is be really, really confident that somebody not only likes this shirt, but they like it more than the shirt next to it.
So this is an interesting thing. Very, very interesting point. So most of the shirts we're looking at are in a $40 price point.
Yeah.
These are very desirable shirts. They do limited run. They sell out. They don't print them again, that kind of thing. Does a $40 shirt have a different um, design mechanism to it than a $20 shirt?
It might. Sometimes people buy the price, sometimes people buy the rarity. You see that a lot, and people buy basketball shoes that they never wear. So, they just keep them looking nice in a box. It might, when it says that they sell out or they're popular or something like that. I can tell you with a lot of confidence that this thing I'm looking at is just not doing the top numbers in a store. It might be on the site because people, when they go to the site, you automatically have a customer that's into the brand. They're kind of laser beamed into the brand. But if you put this, in a store like Hot Topic or something, I can virtually guarantee, especially at $40, this will not be there in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They'll mark them down and clear their decks. It's just not gonna. It's not that it's a bad shirt. It's just not going to stand up against their most popular images.
The next one is from Jack in the Box.
It's a little small on my screen. Let me see if
I'm
I
trying
can.
to see if I can zoom it here for you. Hang on.
Oh, so it
Is that any
says,
better?
yeah. So 10 out of 10 would again. I mean, that's a funny line. Jack in the Box is probably a little bit more nostalgic than Whataburger because they've been around a lot longer. And so I would guess that this would probably do a little bit better. But for me, the Jack in the Box character, the guy who's right there by your by the drive-through, that's the money, that's the image, and that's what I would put huge on the front of the shirt is just him. And I think that would probably do better numbers. I'm giving these people merchandise consultation, which I usually charge a bundle for, but we'll do it for nothing.
I'll tell you something that I have learned the hard way about the fast food industry. They're not going to listen to you or me.
Right. Well, I can tell that by the number of times they get my order wrong. So,
Yeah. Yeah. This one is I think going to be your favorite. This is from Sonic Drive-Through, and
uh
what it is a shirt with a specially designed pocket to hold a corn dog, to hold a Sonic corn dog while you walk around.
yeah. So, does it come with like a plastic corn dog or something like that, or
I don't believe so. I just
it's
believe
just
it's
a
the shirt
pocket?
with the pocket, and that corn dog is there as a sample. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny idea that nobody's going to do. Nobody's going to stick a corn dog in there because they're going to get a big grease stain on the pocket. When it's funny. I think it would probably work better if it was just an imprint of the corn dog there also, so that when you didn't put a real corn dog in there, it still looked like you had a corn dog in there, like a very realistic imprint of the corn dog. I think it's okay. It's I guess Sonic doesn't really have an image that jumps out at me. Is Sonic very, very old? Is it an old
I think it's relatively it's still a drive-in, where they
yeah,
bring the food to your car situation.
yeah. I guess the
The thing that
question,
impressed
yeah, go ahead.
No, you, please.
Oh, I was going to say, like Sonic, when I think about it, I think of first of the drinks. They have the ocean drinks or something like that. And I think that that's probably what I would hit on harder. It wouldn't surprise me if Sonic has a line of shirts, and this is one of them, and there might be other ones with other products. Um, and I think it's the drink, especially the blue ones, because kids will drink anything that's blue. And it's okay. I would lean into the drink a little bit more if I was advising.
The thing that intrigued me about this shirt, and it's something I wanted to ask you about, the direct to garment, which you briefly touched on earlier. This is obviously not something that can be made direct to garment, right? It physically needs to have the pockets sewn in, which differentiates it from 99% of the shirts in the market. Um, how much did licensing change after direct to garment became cheap and prevalent enough that you were now competing with people who were making all kinds of designs at home, be they bad or good?
I think it probably changed a little bit, but that does increase the price point. And so when you're selling in big stores and in big quantities, often you have consumers they're concerned about prices. Nobody has an unlimited amount of money. And so in a festival environment, like when somebody's at Disney World or something, they'll pay much, much more for a product, especially if it's a fancy product, with a lot of extra, printing and stuff like that. They'll pay a lot more for that than if they go into a Target and see it on a rack. So that's where it's sold, especially if you have a festival environment, a concert, what Taylor Swift t-shirts go for at a concert compared to what they go for in a Walmart, for example. And it can be the exact same item. So I think that the all over printing makes a difference, but it's not the most important quality in a shirt. The most important quality in the shirt, in my estimation, is that the person immediately likes the spot print. And in licensing, one of the things that I remind people of all the time is that there's a quality, you have to engender covetousness in the shirt. So, and that's what licensing is completely about. Liking it doesn't mean a thing. I like it, you like it, it's nice, potato chips are nice. A lot of things are nice. A lot of things you'd say, yeah, that's okay. But covetousness is what makes them take that thing and trade their hard-earned money for it. And they have to really, really want it. Sometimes it's like in the festival things, a big part of it is to prove to their friends they were there. It's a trophy. But something like this, no, I think people would say, "Oh yeah, that's funny," and then they wouldn't buy it and probably never wear it. Not with a corn dog in it, anyway.
If I've learned anything from all of my terrible work in the last 5 years, it's that people actually do buy stuff like this and wear it with a corn dog in
You'll
it.
always find there's just nothing you can ever point to that you can't find a customer for.
Right.
But the buyers are in a position that they have a certain amount of real estate on the floor, and that real estate has to turn at a certain rate. So even if they like it and their instincts told them it was good, if you have the third best shirt, which is still really, really great, you can get knocked because it's the first and second that are going to take, that business. So a lot of things can be doing some business. That third and fourth best shirt, they're doing respectable business. There's a lot of people who like it. But in the big retailer, the reality is they have to keep that real estate working and moving at top performance.
Wow. Let's talk about this highly coveted shirt, which still sells for $75 to $125 each on eBay when they pop up. This was the Mariah Carey McDonald's tie-in cheeseburger shirt. It was only available for about 5 minutes on the McDonald's website. It came with a gift card. I believe the original price was about $50. Nobody believes Mariah Carey eats at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Uh, tell me about why this not only did so well, but why it's still highly coveted.
I think it's probably for a couple reasons. I think there's no pigeon like a greedy pigeon, first off. So if a shirt is on eBay for $50 and $60, the people will buy the one at 50. And that this is a trick that sometimes people do. And they do it on eBay. They used to do it in classified ads all the time. Where if they had let's say that you had a signed OJ Simpson football, you put three classified ads in, and one of them you're selling it for $200, one of them you're selling it for $500, one of them you're selling it for $1,000. Well, all you really wanted was 200. But as soon as people see those other two listings, they'll buy it because they think it's the best value. So if people see this particular shirt on eBay and they see it listed, as you say, for what'd you say was the top listing for it?
They go for 75 to 125.
Okay,
And
so
there's
that's
I,
what.
I might I might add that there are a lot of knockoffs of this shirt
Yeah,
that
it's
go for
because
less.
it's not a tough shirt to knock off. So if it's and with eBay, you have to remember it's also a matter of what they're asking. That isn't always what they're getting. And again, if somebody's got five of them, they might put four of them up there for $300 and put one of them up there for $100 because you don't know who's listing. And so you might get the idea that you're going to buy it and now you're going to flip it, right? So that's the greedy pigeon strategy. The other thing is that it's rare, and if it's got tags on it, they can do better with it in a vintage shop or something like that. They might be huge Mariah Carey fans, people who are really devoted to an artist. They'll pay more for it than somebody that just, endures her songs at Christmas time. So, a super fan, they pay a bundle for stuff like that. The McDonald's tie-in, maybe it's funny, that as you say that you don't think she eats at McDonald's. The funniest thing I've ever heard about Mariah Carey is that she was surprised to learn that electricity costs something. Like electricity just comes, she said, just comes into your house, and so she was surprised that people have an electric bill, like, But they probably don't make Ms. Carey sort out the household finances. I'm guessing she has people. Uh, I would you buy it?
For $5 is a joke, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, sure. For $5 as a joke, you'd wear it into a party or something. You might pick it up at a vintage shop or something like that. But I think that it's probably a rare bird that's going to unhook $150 for this shirt.
Okay. This is a chain called Fat Shack, and it was one of those companies that launched through the television show Shark Tank. I believe they had one or two shops, went on the Shark Tank, got a lot of investment money, and went wild with it. And they have a huge merchandise selection in store. Let me show you the assortment, and I'm going to try to zoom in on one shirt in particular, and this is the one I'd like to talk about. It's the one that says, I heart fat slobs.
Yeah. So now that one it's funny. Like you don't even have to know that it's associated with a store brand. It works on its own. So I would imagine that would do well just because it's funny. And also I think it's funny because it's contrary. And, contrariness like really works well in product, especially for a certain category of people. Or not categories, I mean, really more of an age thing. And yeah, I think that's a good shirt. I think it's funny. And I think that they'd sell a lot more of those than Mariah Carey eating hamburger.
So tell me a little bit about this, because I feel like you've experienced it, but please correct me if I am wrong. Obviously, this is an interpolation of Milton Glazer's I Heart New York, right? That's the original idea that's being played with here. I notice there's a very big chain now called Psycho Bunny, which I feel is kind of the same thing as with Happy Bunny. And I've certainly experienced on my own through my work that you can't copyright an idea. And if it's a good idea, you're going to get that. Tell me about how that worked for you in terms of seeing the proliferation of Psycho Bunny.
So Psycho Bunny, they only have one image that kind of resembles one that I had done years before. And with It's Happy Bunny, I have had to bring suits against people, trademark and copyright suits against people. And it is a huge drag. And sometimes people believe that they understand copyright law, and they'll say something like, well, if you change it 5%, it's legal. Like they come up with some sort of imaginary percentage. And then the question is, well, which percent? Like the color, like the size, like the type, like what are you changing? And so the real definition is, and I don't know if I can quote this exactly, but pretty close probably, is that just two examples are held up in front of the jury. And if the jury can make a determination that one was derived from the other, there's a very good chance that's a copyright violation. It's a human judgment. So with It's Happy Bunny, the question would be, can you copyright the idea of a bunny? So you can't do that. So that's off the table. And I'd never used the word psycho bunny. So in terms of a trademark, that's off the table. I did use cute but psycho. That sold a lot. So that's off the table. The image of the bunny they used, it doesn't really look like mine. So like doing anything about it, I would see myself as the angry little man shaking his fist in the courtroom. They stole from, and I don't think that they did. I think that bunnies are funny. There might have been some inspiration in it, but I don't think it's actionable. And I want to live a long time, and lawsuits take the life energy out of you. So um, I didn't much care about it. They're doing business in it. People like it. That's okay. It's not a ripoff. And often when I get people that are doing bootlegs, usually all it takes is I just explain it to them. And I say, I own the trademark. I own the copyrights. I really don't want to do anything to you. So if we can just cease and desist today, I'm not going to try to collect on you. Just take it down. And lots of times, I mean, almost every time they do, because they don't want a lawsuit either.
Okay. This is from White Castle.
That's how we be creative. Okay, so that's also funny. White Castle, it gets the points for nostalgia. It also gets the points for it being a little bit, like it's familiar and accessible. It's the little tiny square hamburger like object of the masses. And the knight on there, I don't know, it's Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, is doing well, and Game of Thrones and stuff like that. So I think that people like that era, or at least that sort of motif. So I think it's okay.
This one has a little bit of a twist from the others. You see, it's got that tag sewn in it, I
Mhm.
guess to prove that it's authentic in some way. Or what does that tag do exactly?
I think it's just like when you can take you can take a print up a certificate of authenticity, and you can put it on anything. You can put it on a bagel. You can put it on a box of cornflakes. And I think that it's maybe, my dad used to talk about, there was a fish seller, and she's down on the street. She's selling fish. And so the her husband comes down, and she's taking a couple, or no, he's down the street. She comes down and she takes a couple of fish off the cart. And he says, "What are you doing with those?" And she goes, "Well, we're going to eat them for dinner." He says, "Put those back. Those are selling fish, not eating fish." So they're good enough for him to sell, but he doesn't actually wouldn't eat them himself. So I think sometimes these things this is for selling. It's purely for selling. When you buy a new car, there's lots of what they call crib toys in the car, like little buttons you can push. And, some cars have an inclinometer in case you ever have to know the exact incline you're going up, right? It'll read it out in degrees. But these are just crib toys. They're there in the car to cause you delight in the sales room and make you buy the car. They don't really do that much. So I don't really think that a certificate of authenticity on a White Castle T-shirt means very much, but some people might see it and maybe it increases sales. It doesn't increase value, but it might increase sales.
I'm guessing that it derives from sporting uh, shirts.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. That there's a lot of the stickers on those. Those are a little bit more collectible, just like the basketball shoes. Some guys do collect the hats. They want to preserve the stickers and labels and stuff like that. And I don't know, they wear them on their birthday or something. They don't wear them very often.
Now that you say it, I'm really regretting that when we had the fast food legend restaurant that I didn't think to include a certificate of authenticity with every hamburger. I'm
Right.
really regretting that now. And I'm going to use that again later somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, because you can put a certificate of authenticity with anything. This is an authentic donut. It has been tested for roundness.
This one's from the Del Taco catalog. Tell me about this.
So I think that Del Taco, I think they're the taco wannabe chain, and I think that it's Del Taco. I think is out of the West Coast, right? Am I right about that?
That's right. When when Glenn Bell started Taco Bell, it was his third taco chain.
Mm-hmm.
And the one of the partners of the second taco chain, which was called El Taco,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in their agreement of separation of the business partnership, that partner went on his own and launched Del Taco using all of the same formula as Taco Bell would use, with the exception that Del Taco also made hamburgers and French fries.
Mm. So, and they put cilantro in the rice. So, I think that it looks a little bit more, street, just the white on black. It has more of a street feel. It is amusing because it's kind of an off brand, so that it's sort of like, if you like Del Taco, you're kind of liking something that's inside, like it's an inside taste or something. Um, it's okay. I mean, I would judge that a lot based on price and how much you like Del Taco. Um, I think this would probably do better than, for instance, that Orange one that we saw on the Chick-fil-A. Like there's so many great places to get really, really good tacos. And still every once in a while I want a Taco Bell taco because it's almost not even the same item. And I think that's probably the same with Del
Right.
Taco. There's probably people, I'm guessing there's probably an after bar crowd that's always looking around for fast food that you can get after the bars. And just being open and just having proximity to where people are partying is probably a selling point.
The one thing I noticed about this shirt, there was a wave, I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago, when Merch by Amazon really opened their doors. And there were all these get rich quick kind of guys who came on the scene and started teaching people how to proliferate their Merch by Amazon accounts with as many designs as possible, like playing lottery tickets. And they would say, well, if you have a taco and put a llama next to it, and the llama's going to do a yoga pose, and do every yoga pose you can think of, and each one of those is a different variety of the shirt. And here's how you use Fiverr, and you hire somebody in another country to draw the shirt for you for 30 cents or, whatever it was. And here's all the math. And so there was this proliferation of terrible shirt designs that were extremely niche. This shirt looks to me like that aesthetic. Does it feel the same way to you?
It could be, yeah. And I would point out that Jeff Bezos didn't get rich by giving his money away. So, some of these things where people tell you you could get rich quick. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, how true could that possibly be? And if you knew a way to do that why wouldn't you gatekeep it? Like, why are you going to tell everybody? It's like screaming at the top of your lungs where you just struck gold, in the hills. They don't tell, you wouldn't tell anybody. So, yeah, I think this is another one from my dad. He used to say, the bigger the bankroll, the tighter the rubber band. And that's I think that's the case with Amazon. They're not giving money away.
I have a Taco Bell shirt here. Again, this one has the what we're jokingly calling the certificate of authenticity tag,
Mm-hmm.
and then just a very small Taco Bell logo on the chest, which almost seems to match the model's Taco Bell tattoo on his arm. Tell me about this.
Well, one of those two things is photoshopped. I'll tell you that, because I don't think that he bought the shirt to match the tattoo, or he got the tattoo to match the shirt, especially because he doesn't have any other ink. I think it's boring. I think that there's probably a lot of ways to do um, product better, and I do consult people on this sort of thing. The if Taco Bell came to me and said, we need some shirt ideas, this wouldn't I wouldn't even consider pitching, because I don't see anything in there that somebody would really want. It almost looks more like something they make the employees wear. It doesn't look like to me a shirt that would hang somewhere, or that somebody would wear in someplace, wear into a club or something like that. I think it's much, much too subtle, with or without that certificate of authenticity and the free tattoo you can get on your inner arm.
The last shirt we're going to look at today is from Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is an immense merchandise program, probably
Yeah.
one of the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about this shirt.
The riff on the Netflix and chill, it's kind of piggybacking on it. I think that somebody might get this for their dad if he really liked, you know, um, Raising Cane's. And I know that it's really popular, but again, something I think can be really good and likable, but it doesn't engender covetousness. It's not something that people goes, "Oh my God, I want that. I'm gonna wear it to the party on Friday." You know, the and chill part is sort of it's kind of a flirty reference to Netflix and chill. But if you're gonna go there, you've got the word finger right there. And there might be a way to sort of build on that if what you're trying to do is to get something that's, sort of playfully lascivious there. You got the word
Interesting.
finger right there. So, I got fingered at Cane's or something like that. And at
Wow.
least that's got a gag to it.
So let me ask you one more thing before we go, because this has been incredibly enlightening. This is an absolute masterclass in t-shirt design. No doubt, you're at the top of your game, expert in mass-produced t-shirt design. But over the last decade or so, I'm sure you've seen that mass culture has really splintered into so many niche categories. How has that affected your work? How has that affected the landscape? How has it affected the entire t-shirt culture?
I think that splintering is great. I think that when people can, and sites like Threadless and what's that one, Redbubble, those are just a couple. When people can put designs on there, it's fantastic, because you have so many things to choose from as a consumer. So now for the creators, the part that's fantastic is they get to share their work on product, and work on product. Product has a way of legitimizing work. So just as soon as somebody can see it on a commercial item, for some reason the work takes on a new value. So, and I think that that's great. And I think that stuff, like some people want stuff that's really, really filthy, really edgy on a shirt. And that's tough for them to get in a Target or even a Hot Topic. Hot Topic has to be really careful because they're kind of a bellwether. And People watch them very carefully. But the fact that you can get all kinds of different stuff, very inside jokes. I saw one for a Chinese restaurant, and it was Wing Ho Fucks, and it's like best beef chow mein in town. Well, you really have to know
Warren
Warren
Zevon.
Zevon and Werewolves of London to know why that's funny. And so, are they going to sell a lot of them? Probably not. But art doesn't have to sell a lot. Not everybody has to appreciate it. And in fact, I think it's important to remember that not everything is for everybody. And so when I still see the chicken fingers and chill. That is for somebody. Somebody wants that. It's not the broadest category, but this kinds of splintering, giving a lot of people different choices. Um, I think it's great. I mean, somebody might get a question, like somebody might get exactly what they want if they wear that into a party, and another person at the party says, "Why are you wearing that?" Well, now the conversation started. And so now they might be able to initiate a conversation by wearing a dead albatross around their neck just as just as well. But a t-shirt's more convenient, easier to get, easier to maintain.
Jim, thank you so much. This was incredible. For anyone watching, in the description of this video, I'm going to have links to all of Jim's work, his website, if you want to hire him as a consultant on your brand, or if you just want to check out the insane history of his work. It's all going to be right there. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to see you next week. Bye, Jim.
Thank you, Sam. We'll see you.